Hi, boys and girls. We are going to do math for day 2, week 3 for Tuesday, March 31st. So please make sure you're on math on the top. Make sure you're on class pages. Make sure you're on week 3. And when you scroll down to week 3, as always, I suggest watching and doing the practice for Khan Academy because it teaches you all about how to do equivalent fractions. So I highly recommend, please, please, please watch that video so you understand how to do the assignment for today. As always, I will read it to you. I will help you as much as I can, but make sure you watch that video. So it's going to load, and we're not going to watch it on here. You can watch it on your own. So I'm going to go back to Power School. So please make sure you watch that video. You have 2 assignments for day 2. They're just 1 question each. So please make sure you do both. I combine them onto 1 document for you. So this is what the first one looks like. And then I'll show you the second one, and I'll show you the document that I created. Here is the second one. You can either answer everything on this right here, or you can use my Word document that I created, and it is right over here. So I'm going to go over the first part. So it says each member of the boys' swim team swam for 1 minute. This chart shows the distance each boy swam. So here's the name of the boys, and this is the fraction of how they swam. So Chris swam 2/8, Brooks swam 3/4, Drew swam 7/8, Zach swam 1/2, Sean swam 3/6, Michael swam 1/4, Juan Pablo, we don't know. We will not know until the last question. So it's asking you, the first question is, which boy, and it should be boys, which boys swam the same amount? Looking at this, you could tell the fractions, none of the fractions are the same. But if you draw them out, you'll be able to tell which boys swam the same amount. So what I did here is exactly what I want you to do on your notebooks. If I were you, I would write all the names again. Pablo, we don't know. I would write the fractions as you see here. So Chris 2/8, Brooks 3/4. So I would write the fractions. Then what I would do is line them up and draw the circles and make it big enough so you cut them correctly. So for example, Chris, I cut into 8ths and then I colored in 2. Then I drew 4ths and I colored in 3/4 for Brooks. 7, and I cut in 8ths and I colored in 7. I cut in half, colored in 1/2. I cut 6 and then I colored in 3. I cut in 4ths and I colored in 1. So just by looking at these, you are going to be able to tell me which boys swam the same amount. Looking at the shaded parts of each one, who can tell me which boy swam the same amount? Looking at the shaded parts, who can tell which 2 boys swam the same amount of time? And you just have to look at the shaded part if they're the same, which is equivalent. So which boy swam the same amount? And you would write which boys, I don't know why I did that, which boys swam the same amount. And you write the 2 names of the boys that swam the same amount. Just by looking at the shaded parts, you can easily tell which boys had the same shaded area. Okay? Then your next question says, prove your answer by using 2 different ways to represent. Now, as you could see, I also did number lines. So that's 2 ways right there, boys and girls. You drew a picture and you drew a number line. So please, for number 2, tell me the 2 boys again, and then show me 2 different ways to show the two boys. If I were you, I would draw the shape, and then I would draw the number line just for the two boys that swam the same amount. You don't need to do a number line for all of them, just the two boys that swam the same amount. Then the last question has to do with Juan Pablo, because we don't know what Juan Pablo swam. Okay? So if you look at the last question, it says Juan Pablo's time wasn't recorded. He swam the same amount as Brooks and has a denominator of 8. What is his distance? So if he swam the same amount as Brooks swam 3/4. So we need to find a fraction that is equivalent to 3/4. Now, we have another hint. It says that the denominator is 8. So that's why I have an 8 here. So if we know the denominator is 8, we know that we can split this up into 8ths. So we're going to divide this into 8ths. I always start with a plus sign, then I make an X across, and that's how I make my perfect circle of 8ths. Now, if Brooks did 3/4, what would be the same fraction as 3/4? If I were you, I'd look at 3/4 real quick, and I would kind of make imaginary lines that would show 8ths. So if it's already in fourths, you know, we start off as a plus sign, and that's already fourths. To make a 8ths, you would cut it again into 8ths. And look, how many is shaded in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many would you shade it in to make it look like that? And then you would write the fraction. So I pretty much gave it away, okay? So you would color the same amount here, and then you would tell me that fraction. And then you would just tell me what his fraction is. Just write the fraction. And that's it for that part. So again, you're telling me which boys swam the same. You're going to draw the two boys by drawing the circles in a number line, or you could do it in words, it says, or whatever. But my suggestion is to do it in number line and shape because it's just easier. The second part is a simple question. It shows you a number line, and it says, Miley looked at the star on the number line and said, I could think of 3 different ways to write the value of the star. Where's the star? Right here. How many different ways can you write the value of the star? Explain your answers. Explain why your answers are correct. So it's just one question. I'm going to go back to this. And I did exactly what, you could do this in your math notebook like I am. You can draw the number line out again, copy what you see. So on here, it doesn't say that. So I'm going to erase that real quick. Okay, so you're going to copy the same. And if you remember from my lesson before, when you're doing a number line, it's super simple. You count how many lines it's broken into. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's broken down into 4 different lines. That's why you have a numerator of 4. So if your numerator is 4, that means your numerators here need to be 4. Now, how did I say you have to figure out the numbers on top? Oh, well, count. 0, 1, what comes after that? 2, 3, and what would go here? Write that number in. Once you have that fraction, you need to tell me 3 different ways to write that fraction. All right, so I'm not going to give it away, but what I mean by saying that is tell me other ways to write that fraction. If it's, let's say it's a half, which it's not, but just say it's a half, you would have to write other fractions that would equal a half, like 3/6 is a half, 4/8 is a half. But if it's, you have to tell me what this one is. 3 different ways how to write that number in 3 different ways. Remember, this is already 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then you would tell me what that is. And that's the same thing as and tell me it in 3 different fraction forms, okay? That's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it's not too hard for you. Bye.